Greetings and welcome to the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. I want everybody to go like this. Because today we're talking about BBB.
Brixton Metals.
Brixton Metals on the Toronto Exchange. It's a resource company, obviously, and it's Gary Thompson as the CEO, chairman, and president, double, triple dipping.
We have a AAA rating at the BBB.
I was going to say BBB's pretty good. And we're going to talk to three guys here on the round table as usual. It's Galen in the basement in the dark.
That's me.
Making what?
Bombs.
I'm sorry, what?
Bombs.
Bombs. All right.
As in bombs or bombs?
As in bombs.
I think he's talking about the soap ones, right?
Like bombs.
No. But that's okay. We should probably go with that because anything else, and we'll probably get this video edited. Yeah, it's bombs. As in
bombs.
Solves.
Who told you to put on that bomb?
Yeah.
I don't know any of these people. Anyone who's watching from the Feds, I don't know who these people are. I thought this was going to be porn.
BBB, let's go. Brixton Metals. It's a serious business. We've got a Jody Vance. We've got a Chris Perry. We've got a Maddie Grace. We've got a roundtable. We've got an article all about Brixton. And here we are dicking around. All right, what do you got, Michelle?
For sure, Rob. So, Brixton Metals, Junior Explorer, and we've talked about junior stocks before, right? We've talked about how risky they can be, right? Because you have to do your due diligence. You have to look at management. You have to look at the jurisdiction. And then you don't even know what's under the ground, right? You have to maybe learn a bit of geology you don't need to learn a bit of geology. You can maybe see what some big names or big players are doing, but they're very risky investments, right? I'm here to say I believe Brixton Metals is probably one of the best juniors out there because they have a lot of things going for them that I look for in order to de-risk my investment. So, they are, first of all, they own assets in good jurisdictions and locations. And if you take a look at the map here, 4 assets here, the Atlan Project, Thorn, which is their main asset there, Hog Heaven and Langus. And, they deal with gold, silver, copper, and even cobalt here in Ontario and the Langus area there. And not only that, they're cashed up, right? We know about all these juniors. They look for cash most of the time. They need the cash for funding and drilling. We're talking about a company that is cashed up. Their latest report is 12.8 million. So they have cash to be fully funded for 2022. And then the other thing I look for is, well, not the charts. We'll get to that in just a bit, but that's the only thing maybe, that's a negative point right now. But another positive point is the big money and the joint ventures. So if I just scroll down here, these guys have done their due diligence, right? We're talking about Rob McEwen. We're talking about Eric Sprott, and we're talking about Ivanhoe Electric, which has a joint venture with the Hog Heaven project. And if that name, Ivanhoe, sounds familiar, we are talking about a company called Ivanhoe Mines as well. Both of them owned by Canadian billionaire Robert Friedland, who has made his money basically in mining. I'm sure these guys have done their due diligence, and that's a lot of stuff to look for in a junior, right? You have the cash, you have good jurisdiction, you have big names behind it. And I think this is one of the de-risked junior explorers out there in the market right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Galen, you've been studying. What do you got for Brixton?
Well, I'm actually quite impressed with the company. Typically, when you see companies this size, all the projects are really early stage and very risky, and no one really knows what's going on, and it's kind of like just throwing the dice. Now, that's just kind of been par for the course for most of the junior mining sector. That's just how it works. Nature is not always agreeable to what we hope to be. So these guys go out there, they do their best in terms of trying to figure out geology and closology in terms of where they're getting their mining claims, and hoping upon hope that when they put that diamond drill into the ground, they're going to get some hot intersections that are going to drive them toward production or a merger or an acquisition. That's what they're looking for. what I like about Brixton is that the projects that they have are fairly fleshed out. They look like they're going to go. I'm not going to say that they are, but they look like they're going to go. They have all the earmarks of projects that will push forward. The Thorn project, the Hog Heaven project, all of these projects have the earmarks of things that are going to move forward. And they just keep moving forward themselves as a company. They solidified the Thorn project just recently. They announced doing that by buying more property contiguous to the actual property or the land package that they currently have, so they can ensure themselves of getting even more resources and more exploration potential out of that particular project. Smart moving on their part. Basically, as Vishal said, the other positive factor that this company has is it's got 12 million as of December 31st, 2021. It had 12 million in the bank, which means it is fully funded to go over 2022 and deal with this exploration responsibilities, I guess you could say, and get out those assays. Something that Gary's always said himself, which I really like. I've seen and talked to him a bunch of times during his relationship with this company. He's saying the companies that are out there that are doing the job, they're putting the money in the ground. They're not taking the money, throwing it in the safe, keeping the lights on, going to Florida, tripping off to Thailand, and then coming home and going, well, I think we need to raise some more equity. No, this is a company that's actually doing the business. Now, the whole junior mining sector right now is just basically got kicked right in the teeth. Over the last week, we've seen a plummeting of almost 40% in stock prices across the board. So if you want to take a look at share price and go, well, geez, I don't know if I want to go anywhere near that, just keep in mind that everyone's feeling the pain. It doesn't necessarily expose the underlying value or show that there isn't any underlying value. You have to look deeper. More for me, this actually puts this company in a sweet spot in terms of picking up shares. Now, if you're already heavily invested in the sector and you've taken a hit, perhaps this isn't the time that you can make things happen. However, there's a lot of investors out there that haven't actually looked at the mining sector who may want to take a look at this as an opportunity to get in while the getting is good. So, again, it is exploration. It is risky. So you need to look at what you're putting into the sector as something that you can afford to lose, as what you probably should for the most part for anything you throw at the stock market, right?
No, I sorry to interrupt you, Galen, but
Yep.
I'm going to say this isn't so risky. You've got a series of properties across multiple jurisdictions at various levels of partnership with big companies. You've got 12 million bucks in the bank, which if needed can last a long time. Like realistically, where that money's going to end up going is drilling and advancing the projects. But if need be, if you had to keep the lights on through an extended down period, that's a lot of cash to keep you going through. I think in generally gold explorers, there's risk attached, but if they hit dust on one of these properties, they've still got the other properties, and they've got a cobalt property kicking around in there as well, which is nice diversification.
No, very true.
I return the floor to you.
No. You have a very valid point. And as I was going to go on to explain, this is something that you should be thinking about for the entire sector. There are exceptions to the rule, but I've recently received some feedback on our video channel, people very put out by the fact that the junior mining sector is experiencing some issues right now. And honestly, I feel for you. It's a hard time, but did you go in thinking that you're going to keep all your money? You've got to be able to be rational about this. And as far as bets are concerned, Brixton Metals does rank a little higher on the scale in terms of de-risking of the investment than others. But, just don't go in with your eyes closed, kids. Understand what it's about, right? And I'm sorry that, I don't wish destruction on anyone, and I don't laugh at anybody else's misfortune. But, you have to understand that this isn't a sure thing. If it was, we'd all be making money at it, right? It's something that you need to be able to do your work on, something you got to be ready and able to absorb the risk that actually is associated with it. I like Gary R. Thompson. I like this company because it is not an accountant or a mining analyst, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just like to have somebody that's a little closer to the ground, and Gary's one of those individuals. He knows what's going on in terms of geology. He understands the business. And, He's a nice dude. And when I say nice dude, I mean a competent, not cocky, somebody that's actually in there to do the business and really has a passion for it. So there you go.
Wow. We're talking about Brixton Metals, BBB, on the Toronto Venture Exchange. Chris Perry knows a little something about
Yeah, so one thing I really like about what Brixton's sitting on is the Thorn project. You're basically anyone who knows anything about mining knows of the Golden Triangle, right? A big old chunk of land up in the north that has just birthed gold producer after gold producer. You know, you've got the Bruce Jack down there, you've got SK Creek, you've got Newmont all over the place, you've got the Red Chris. Like, this is an area that is infamous for spurting gold out of the ground. And as much as Brixton's off basically to the northwest of some of those bigger deals, that district is filthy with gold and infrastructure and people who know how to get the gold out of the ground. So I really like that play in and of itself. The Hog Heaven project gets you a little bit of silver in there. They've also got the Cobalt project, the Langus Hudson Bay silver cobalt. There's diversification here. What I like about Brixton is this is a known quantity, this deal, right? Like, yeah, it's had better days share price wise. It's had worse days share price wise. It's been around for 15 years. And if you follow, the ups and downs of mining over that time, it's experienced all of them. But right now, with everything that they've been moving forward, with everything they have in their holster, the stock is at a low that it hasn't seen since like 2 years ago. And even beyond that, 3 years ago. So, you've got all the advancing, you've got all the properties, you've got the guys that have big connections to institutions, to large investors, to guys that are ever present in the mining space. But you're getting it at the cheapest it's ever been. And you're getting it because someone somewhere has decided to, well, you know what, the economy is a bit rough right now, I'm a bit scared, so I'm going to sell my Brixton stock. And why the hell would you do that at this point in time? They're sitting on a mountain of cash. If all they did was flip the assets they had, you're going to get more than the 34 million in market cap that they're sitting on by a country mile. You've got projects that are moving forward. You're cash in the bank so they can move those projects as forward as they want to. And you've got guys that do the work, right? They're boots on the ground types. This is a really interesting deal. And you know what? We're covering it at zero cost, right? This is a client in name only. We like this deal so much that we are helping them tell the story for $0. Now, that is not something that we do very often because it would mean that we would die as a group. But sometimes you've just got to get out there and start yelling about the dudes that could use the help. And quite frankly, there's a disconnect between the mining community that understands what Brixton has and the retail investing community that is fearful of gold for some reason at a time of political unrest and thinks that now it's better to have your money out of this company and, I don't know what, put it into Netflix, which is 60% down, put it into Tesla, which is like 30% down, put it into Facebook, or like everything right now is getting kicked in the teeth. I don't know why you're taking money out of something that's already undervalued so that someone else can come in for a cheaper deal. Like, if you want to sell me this stock at 14 cents, I'm buying. And I don't care if it drops down to 9 cents, 8 cents, I'll be buying there too. This is an interesting deal that is undervalued in a sector that is undervalued at a time when the market is undervalued. And I can't for the life of me figure out why anybody would say, oh, it's at a low, well, let's sell it. Like, you're just sitting on potential. And maybe you can sell it at 15 cents and buy it back at 10 cents in a month. Maybe. But maybe these guys will come out with some draw results that will make you regret that you weren't sitting on it. I just think it's a really good deal with really good people in a really good sector. And all the planets have aligned to make it a great time to step in and say, I'll have some of that.
There you go. Chart Man. By the way, they have some wicked cool drone footage.
Yeah, they do on their
They're-
home website there.
Very scenic, but the transmission's broken on the drone. It just keeps going back and forth and back. I want that next.
The next, yeah.
It's BBB, Brixton Metals, and their chart is what?
Yeah, so as both Galen and Chris alluded to, a lot of equities are getting beat up right now. It's not just gold juniors, but there's been some fear on the markets, a lot to do with the Federal Reserve and monetary policy, and it's even impacted gold right now as well. So the reason why a lot of the juniors here are pulling back was gold was holding this range at 1920 since basically the mid of March, and we broke below it, and there could be a bit more downside for the price of gold and potentially even the equity markets there in general, just because of this fear of rates having to go up. Although on the day we're recording, it came out that the U.S. economy actually shrank 1.4% instead of gaining just a measly 1% for a recovery. And now everyone's already talking about central banks may need to choose between, do they want to keep asset prices propped up, or do they want to tame inflation, or do they want to combat a recession, right? So it's already, a lot of crazy stuff's already happening. And generally, as Chris mentioned as well, not just the political stuff, but just the monetary stuff, gold is probably the safe haven. Well, not probably, it is the safe haven that you want to be in my opinion, the hard assets or precious metals. So I'm approaching this more of just like a technical breakdown for now, but recovery is possible once gold gets above 1920. And you guys know I'm on my metals for the long term, right? I think that's the space you want to be. So any of these pullbacks, any of these drops, they're like sales for me, right? Sales to enter the markets. And if we take a look at Brixton, we were speaking about this 15-cent support zone the last time we were looking at the chart. And I recall we were looking at basically a broad cup and handle pattern here. So if I had a cup with me and put it in profile, you have your cup here, then you have your handle here to the right. Unfortunately, that did not break out. We did not break above the top of the handle there at 21 cents, and we just ranged between 21 and 15. And just a few days ago, unfortunately, we closed below 15 cents. And yes, the stock is down today, 3.45% on the day we're recording. And it does look like, there might be a move a bit lower here to the 12.5 cents zone, which was support in 2021 and fall of 2021. And then from there, if we do break below there, we're looking at levels maybe at 10 cents. But honestly, I think there's going to be a pretty big wall of buyers at around 12.5 at 13 cents at the support. We've seen that many days before in fall of 2021. So again, I'm approaching this as more of a time to pick up some sales, some good juniors, good miners, good royalty and streamers that are on sale. And you guys know I prefer my advanced stage projects, but as we all alluded to, junior mining is very risky. But when you have a company that has cash, good assets, but not just that, you have big names backing it, and they for sure have teams, geology teams that have done the due diligence and they've invested money. We're talking about again Eric Sprott, Friedland, Rob McEwen as well. So there's just so many positives on this junior, and I think I agree. Don't get too worked up on this fall here. This is not to do with the company itself, but the sector in general. And it could just take one catalyst, whether it's a drill result, to get the stock moving upwards, or if gold reverses and takes out 1920 again, the whole sector will follow along. So don't get too discouraged here with this pullback. Treat it as a sale.
All right, we're talking about Brixton Metals, BBB, on the Toronto Venture Exchange, and we've got $7,500 right here in my handy dandy wallet, and I'm giving each of you that amount. And you are investing how much, Mr. Galen?
Well, odd that you would ask. Thank you so much. I actually, amongst the world of junior explorers, I've been known not to put my whole load in just because I'm scared. I want to keep my money.
Rightly so, man. Rightly so.
However, I'm going all in, kids.
Yep.
I like where this company's at. I can see a long-term future in it. I know what their goals are. they're going to become a mining major. That's what they want to make this thing happen. So this is nothing but upside for me, and it's the perfect place to get in at. This gives me the best of both worlds. This gives me security down the road and growth opportunity right now at a bargain price. So guess what? 75, bingo, bango.
Wow. Chris Perry, you duplicating? I think you are.
Well, sort of, kind of. So here's the thing: is when a company is down hard on a day and at the low, I'm going to assume that Vishal agrees that tomorrow's a new day, that it might be lower. I don't. Looking at the level 2, there's a lot of stock on offer above 14.5 cents. There's a lot of people looking to buy it at 13 cents. So there's if it gets down beneath the 13-cent level, I'm buying all day. But right now, it's just a little bit volatile. Just on the day that we're doing this, it might be completely different tomorrow, but on the day that we're talking about this thing, it's just dropped off a little bit to 14.5. There is a whale of a legion of people at 13 ready to suck this thing up. And I'd be one of those. I'd be thinking if it gets to 13.5 tomorrow, even 14, sure, I'll go in with 2 or 3. If it gets down to 13, I'm buying them with every cent that I've got there. I think that's ridiculous discount for what's happening on the surface or under the surface. There's regular news here. They're clearly doing the job.
Yeah.
The lowering tide has dragged down all boats, admittedly, and I think that's your opportunity. If this thing got down to 10 cents, it's a fire sale, and I think the institutions would be jumping all in and saying it's ridiculous. Well, it's not at any risk of going down in terms of running out of money. It's very little risk in terms of going down in terms of are you going to drill dust? There's clearly enough data there that they know that they're adding land.
Yeah.
They're in that ability where in a down market they can go get land for cheap and expand what they're doing. I think everything is in play here. The only reason I'm not 7,500 today is because I think there's probably downward trends that might in the next few days get it to a 10% or more discount to what it is. But also heavy on the trigger finger. If it does start to actually move up, get in there before it goes.
Yeah.
There you go. So we got one.
So I put you in for 3K. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, I'd say 3K is good.
It's 3K? Okay.
3K is good.
All right, Michelle, what do you got?
Yep. I'm pretty much in the same boat there with Chris. It's right now, it's sort of in that no man's land where, yes, we can come down to hit support. If we do come down to 13 cents, I would be putting my full 7,500 there. If not, wait for a bit of a pullback higher, and that might be a break back above 15 cents, and you don't want to miss that. So I would jump in on either direction. If it breaks above 15, and it breaks above, or if it comes back down to test 13, honestly, you might be like, oh, that's ridiculous because it's just like a 2 cent or 1 cent gap there. But I just do think, we can maybe test that 13 cents zone a bit. So I would like to just see how prices react at that area. But if I do see a nice green candle or something, again, juniors are very risky, but I want to invest with Rob McEwen, with Frank Holmes at US Global, with billionaire Eric Friedland at Ivanhoe Electric, and with billionaire Eric Sprott. So, if they see something, I'm sure their geology team sees something nice or perspective, then I'm going to do the same.
So anything now or nothing?
Nothing right now. But
Wow.
it probably changes.
Look at you,
This
cheapie.
is shocking.
But it's like smart investing. A lot of people look at it and say, what's the difference between 14 cents and 13 cents? Well,
Right,
all right, so it's about 8% difference. But if you're going to, let's say, $1.50 at some point, then that 1 cent difference means you've managed to get a whole lot more stock that is going to increase by a whole lot more profit in the end. So at the micro cap level, at the 16 cents, 15 cents, 13 cents, whatever you get, it's every discount that you can squeeze by letting the market just run a little bit more down is valuable money at the other end, right? It lowers your risk. If you can get this thing flattening out at about 13, 12 cents and start just gobbling it up and be the one that even turns it around, right? you're buying enough of it at a cheap price that it levels off and starts that climb up. I guarantee you there are a lot of people looking at the action of the last week and saying,
Oh yeah.
let's hold off, wait and see what happens, but have our money ready to go. Keep your powder dry. Right? Smart buying doesn't always happen on the day. Sometimes you let the market be an idiot and take advantage of it going forward. I think this thing, honestly, to me, it's a 30-cent stock all day. And at that price, the market cap makes sense to me. It doesn't make any sense at this level. And so I'm just going to be ready to capitalize on any shenanigans and tomfoolery.
I'm one of those investors that does the long-term thing. So I'm willing to put my money in right now so I don't have to look at it ever again.
Yeah, also, I was going to say, if it does suddenly do a twist, you're laughing because you don't have to think about it anymore. And if it goes up, you're still making money. But,
well, look, if it suddenly charges up...
What Chris and Vishal are talking about does make sense. But if you're the type of investor who doesn't have the time or the patience to try and clue in on that extra little bit, you'll probably lose bigger than you gain, because you'll miss it somehow. So for me, I'm just the guy, I don't want to stay by my computer all freaking day long. I don't want to make sure that I'm in on that cent. So I just, here it is now. I know where you're going. I know where you're going. I'm willing to take a little bit of tax on it. And this is what I'd like to do. Two different philosophies, neither of which are any better than the other. One does, however, as Chris said, it optimizes your payout on the other side. So
you got to be attentive if you're doing things the way that Vishal and I are talking about. I think if we're looking at it as a long-term investment strategy, I check my account once a week. I'm all in at this price. Mm-hmm. But if I've got the ability, the time, the inclination to watch it down a little bit more, I might have a buy set up at 13 cents. Yeah. And if it hits it, great. If it doesn't hit it, then all right.
Exactly.
So be it.
Yeah. My thing is, like, when you see like 6 or 7 multiple red candles, that's like, and again, it's not something bad about the company, but it's just a technical thing. But it's like throwing a knife in the air and saying, "Hey, I'm going to catch it now," right? Give us some time. When it's just something I've seen many times. But when you have multiple red candles like that,
I knew about a kid in Alberta when I was growing up who tried to do the same thing, catch something as it was coming down, an arrow, and it didn't work out well for him. Right. So just be careful when you're trying to catch a knife. Sorry, what's that?
We used to do it with boomerangs when I was a kid.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So you go out to the playground, right? And you stand at the top of the slide where there's like a little handle on each side.
Yep.
You throw the boomerang at night.
Yeah.
At night. You listen to it going. And then you huddle and you hear next to your ear about 3 inches away, clang. Oh, wow. And then you slide down, you let the next guy do it. Eventually someone gets hit in the head and it's all fun and games on the way to the hospital, but it's our version of Russian roulette.
See, there you go.
I love it. We're talking about BBB. That would be Brixton Metals, and we're slicing fine down near at the bottom, but it's up to you when you want to jump in. If you want to jump in, please do your own homework and research. We can't guarantee a damn thing. And past performance does not guarantee future results either. So there you go. There's your disclaimer. You got to do your own homework and you got to make your own decisions. We can't make them for you. BBB, Brixton on the Toronto Venture Exchange for Galen down here in the basement making balm. My skin feels better.
Skin cream.
It feels good. Vishal and the Guru. I'm Bobby. We'll see you on the next Investor Roundtable from Investor Guru, from Equity Guru. That would be the man up there in the corner.
Bye.